In this video, we're going to discuss the particle toggler behavior, but we're also going to break down all of the different things that I did in this scene to make this little game that I've made here. Now, if you just are interested in the particle toggler behavior, that's fine. We'll cover that very quickly. But if you want to stick around, I can show you all the other things that went on that kind of went into making a game like this in case you're interested in making a game that's similar to this. So let me just show you particle toggler. I'm going to try to hit one of these pots. Go. This other one over here. I feel like the other one shows the smoke a little bit better. As you can kind of see it rise up from the pot there. And that is the particle toggler effect in action. Basically what it's doing is it's triggering a particle effect to play, and then when that particle is done, it turns off, and then you can re-trigger it over and over again. So if I were to hit this pot again, we should see that smoke kind of rise up each time. Okay. All right. So let me show you how that works, and then I'll show you the rest of this. So the first thing you need to understand is that I've got some objects in the scene that you can't see. So let me show you that right now. I'm just going to target all of these, and we'll go into the materials and tick the box that says transparent. And you can see these objects are now visible. And in fact, there's a set for each one of these pots, all kind of doing their jobs. Turn all those on. Now, you can't just tick the transparent tick box. That's not how it works. You also have to make sure that the alpha transparency is down all the way to 0. If you do that and tick the box, then the object will go away. Same, but it's still active, it's still there, and it's still got a behavior attached to it. So, little tip for you on that. The particle toggler behavior is very, very, very simple. That's why it really doesn't need its own video, or at least that would make a very short video if that's all it was. But all you really need to do is put a name on the particle that you want to toggle, and then put that name here. And then you just need a logic link that's going to activate that effect. And that's it. Toggle the particle effect. Tongue twister. So very, very simple. So if that's all you were interested in, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next video. But if you want to stick around, I'll explain more of how this all came together. There's a lot going on here. I've got an object over here that's also transparent. Turn that on so we can see everything. Yeah. So this object is got the vendor behavior. And I've explained the vendor behavior before, so we're not going to go into all these little details, but ultimately what it's doing is it's vending something, right? It's producing an object when you press the E key. That object is sitting inside of this pot right there. And it's just the golden lamp that's been dropping this whole time. So it's sitting inside the pot. Now the pot is moving, and if the pot moves, the lamp needs to move as well. And so I've got those behaviors set up here on these little objects in the scene. This is just kind of, I think, a force of habit. I might have been able to get away with putting this on the global behavior setup as well, as showed in a previous video. But again, force of habit, attaching behaviors to objects. I guess it's just something I'm gonna have to get used to. But the add movement behavior, we've covered that before in kind of a similar setup where it's just a dropper moving back and forth. And I'm doing the same thing with the golden lamp. So those two things are now moving in tandem with one another in sync, so that it appears there's just one object, but there's really two going back and forth. And really the only reason for that is I wanted to drop the lamp, not the pot. And so I needed the pot to be something visual that you could watch go back and forth, something big. If it was just the lamp, then you would maybe not be able to see it so well. And so that's what the pot is there for, is kind of more for the visual than anything. And then the lamp itself is the thing that's being vended from this invisible object sitting right in front of the player so that I can interact with it without it blocking my view. So then we have our object collider behavior. We talked about that in episode 1. The lamp collides with the pot, and then that is triggering a number of things happening here, right? So the pot, the collision with the pot is triggering this pillow, this pillow, and this pillow. All right, so let's just go one by one on the pillows here. We'll go with this one here. We have a timed event. So we trigger the timed event. That starts a clock, a little 5-second clock. By the way, in previous videos, when we saw the double collision, I think it probably has to do with timing. And so if I were to spend more time with this and really dial this in, I could get that to stop doing that. I didn't spend that much time, getting it exactly right. So we saw a little double collision happening. That I think is probably for the best, honestly, because it's important to know what can happen so that you can plan around it. So I'm not too worried about leaving that in the video. But the event delay is just how long is it going to take for it to do something. And when that 5 seconds is up, it's going to trigger something. So it is toggling the particle effect to happen after a few seconds. And so is the pot. So the pot triggers the particle effect to turn on. The timed event it tells it to turn back off again. The middle pillow is a swap. So these pot pieces are all one object, right? I have to thank Necrom for that. They were originally separate objects, and I was having a really hard time figuring out how to toggle them all on at once. And he was kind enough to put them all together as one object and made it so much easier. So now we have that visual effect so that when the lamp collides with the pot, we're triggering this swap. And the swap is just swapping out the pot for the pot pieces. And it looks like the pot is broken. Now, if you had a object that was breakable, then that'd probably be better just to play like an animation of the pot pieces breaking. But I didn't have that. I had to go with what I had. So it worked. I think it looked all right for what it was. And that's really the same with all of these. So these are just, pot 1, pot 2, pot 3. Each one of these is set up that way so that they're basically doing the same things for all 3 pots. And then we had the the game monitor behavior that is also keeping track of the score. And when the score hits a final score, then it wins the game or whatever it is that you want it to do at that point. But that is all the different parts and pieces happening to come together to make a little arcade game for the scene. And we use this scene 3 different times, 3 different ways. So I hope you got some value out of that. If you enjoyed the video or if you learned anything new, you know the drill by now. Just click the like button down below. If you're new here or if you just haven't subscribed yet, we'd love to have you stick around. And if you'd like a notification for whenever a new video is posted, just click the bell icon and that'll let you know when a new video is ready. Thanks so much for watching all the way through. I always appreciate that. I hope you enjoyed the series and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. Hey, don't forget, there's written documentation on every behavior, even the ones I haven't covered yet in video format on my website at www.bloodmooninteractive.com. Be sure to check that out. And if you'd like to learn more, maybe check this video out next.